In this video, I'll be talking about animal nutrition. So first, let us look at malnutrition, which is a condition caused by not eating a balanced diet. The effects of malnutrition are kwashiorkor, which is caused by a lack of protein, CHD, which is caused by eating too much fats, obesity, which is also caused by eating too much fats, marasma, which is caused by a lack of energy, and constipation. Now let's look at heart disease. So, saturated fats increases the concentration of cholesterol, which increases the risk of heart disease. Unsaturated fats such as chicken, fish, or plants do not. So, how do we prevent heart diseases? First, we could use vegetable oil instead of butter or lard. Next, we could use polyunsaturated spread instead of butter. And lastly, we could eat more white meat and less red meat. Moving on, we'll be looking at nutrients and their uses. First, we have carbohydrates, which is used for energy. Next are fats, and it is used as energy source, energy store, insulation, buoyancy, making hormones, and building materials. Proteins are also used for energy, enzymes, antibodies, hormones, hemoglobin, and building materials. And then we have vitamin C, which repairs tissues and produces collagen, which is a type of fiber. Vitamin D is responsible for the absorption of calcium to make bones and teeth. Calcium maintains and develops the teeth, bones, and blood clot. Next, we have iron, which makes hemoglobin, which transports and carries oxygen. Fiber helps in peristalsis and they bulk for feces. And finally, we have water, which acts as a solvent for transport and chemical reactions. Deficiencies is when we lack some of these nutrients. So, for example, lack of vitamin C could lead to scurvy, which is bleeding gums and painful joints and muscles. Lack of vitamin D causes rickets, which are weak bones and teeth. Lack of calcium also causes rickets, which are poor blood clotting and brittle bones, teeth, and nails. Lack of iron causes anemia, which is fatigue, since there's a lack of oxygen transport. Next, we'll be talking about teeth, and we have 4 types of teeth, and these are incisors, canines, premolar, and molar. So here's a cross-section of a tooth. It is separated into crown and root. As you can see, the very top part is the enamel, and then you have the dentin, and in the middle you have the pulp, and lastly you have the cement. So the crown is the part of the tooth that could be seen, the root is the part of tooth embedded in the gum. The enamel covers the crown and is the strongest tissue in the body. The dentin has cytoplasm and is less hard than the enamel. The pulp cavity contains nerves and blood vessels which supply dentin with food and oxygen. And lastly, we have cement, which covers the root and has fibers that attaches to the jawbone. Now we'll be looking into the stages of processing food in the body. First is ingestion, which is taking substances into the body through the mouth. Next is digestion, which is breakdown of large insoluble food using mechanical or chemical. Third is absorption, which is the movement of small food molecules from intestine into the blood. Fourth is assimilation, which is the movement of digested food into cells where they are needed. And fifth is egestion, which is passing out food that has not been digested or absorbed through the anus. Moving on to alimentary canal, which is a long passage which food passes through the body from mouth to anus during digestion. So peristalsis is the movement of food by alimentary canal muscles contracting and relaxing. The sphincter muscles can close the tube completely in some places, and mucus lubricates the tube to help food slide down easily. So here's a diagram of the alimentary canal, and today we'll be focusing on the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Let's begin with the mouth. A bolus is formed when food and saliva mixes together. Salivary glands make saliva, which contains water that dissolves food substances, mucus, which binds chewed food into bolus and acts as lubrication, and amylase, which digests starch to maltose. And then we have the esophagus, which takes food, the bolus, from mouth to the stomach. The epiglottis is a piece of cartilage covering the trachea which prevents food from going into the lungs when swallowing. Moving on to the stomach, gastric pit and the stomach walls contain goblet cells which secrete mucus, cells producing pepsin, which is a type of protease, digest protein into polypeptides. cells producing hydrochloric acid kills the bacteria in the stomach. Now, chyme is a mixture of food, mucus, and enzyme. The pyloric sphincter is at the bottom of stomach, which opens up to let the chyme into the duodenum. Speaking of duodenum, let's talk about the small intestine. It is divided into three parts: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. In duodenum, pancreatic duct connects pancreas to the duodenum. Pancreatic juice contains amylase, trypsin, lipase, and sodium hydrogen carbonate to neutralize the acid for the enzymes to work. The bile duct connects gallbladder, which stores bile made in the liver, to duodenum. Bile is used to digest food and neutralize acidic mixture from the stomach. Bile contains salt, which emulsify fat, which is a type of mechanical digestion. And in the ileum, there are cells covering the villus which produces enzymes such as maltase, which converts maltose to glucose, sucrase, which converts sucrose to glucose and fructose, lactase, which converts lactose to glucose and galactose, peptidase, which converts polypeptide to amino acid, lipase, which converts lipids to glycerol and fatty acids. And finally, we'll be looking into the large intestine. So here's a diagram of the large intestine. We have the cecum, the colon, the rectum, and the anus. So the cecum is a pouch that connects the small and the large intestine. The colon is where the remaining water and salt are absorbed. The rectum is where the feces or indigested food, bacteria, and dead cells are stored. The anus is where the feces are passed out, which is called egestion. And then the bile salts are absorbed and returned to the liver by blood circulation in the hepatic portal vein.